Hi, welcome back to the Shane Plays Notes series on Tomb of Annihilation, which is the D&D 5e campaign that's set on Chult, which is basically the somewhat uh, Forgotten Realms equivalent of Africa. And it's also inspired by the old school Tomb of Horrors module, classic old school module. It was very difficult and also featured the Archlich Acererak. So uh, this is, I think, video 3. So let's dig right in. We're going to do some viewer feedback. We'll go over some rules clarifications, and then we will get into actually what happened on the most recent session, or not most recent session. We'll cover some sessions that occurred in Port Nyanzaru, which is sort of the starting location in the campaign if you follow it by the book. One thing I want to remind people, these videos are coming less frequently. However, each video is going to cover multiple sessions of gameplay, whereas before, for the most part, each video covered like maybe one at most 2 sessions of gameplay. So just want to remind everybody of that. But let's put on our +2 glasses. No, +3. They're +3 spectacles of viewer feedback and or rules clarification. And we'll see what we can see here. So let's take a look at what we had on video 2. So Firelord Singer said, "Hey, I really wish I could be one of your players. I live too far, though. I'm all the way in Colorado." Sigh. Well, I appreciate that. That's flattering. But, you know, I did, and other people may be interested in this as well. I said, no promises on when, but I will eventually try to work in some virtual tabletop one-shot adventures with folks. To which Firelord Singer said, I don't really like to play online. It sucks. But okay, fair enough, Firelord Singer. But for those of you otherwise that might be interested, I would like to try to do some of that at some point on either Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds or something. David Schmidt said, I wish you would have done this a few months ago when I was starting Tomb of Annihilation. Looking forward to seeing how it goes for you. And I was like, thanks, David. Yeah, sorry the timing wasn't perfect for you. But I hope you enjoy the series. Valendrave said, hello, Shane. It's been a long time. Hello, Valendrave. Good to hear back from you. Life happened and I was unable to keep up with your notes for Out of the Abyss for a time. I finally got caught up there and jumped into Tomb of Annihilation as well. I'm glad to see you made it through the Underdark unscathed. I don't know if I would say exactly unscathed psychologically, but we made it. It was a lot of fun. I plan to try to stay up to date this time, but I swear, if you give a lightsaber to another monk, I am out of here. You've been warned, sir. And, I gave our monk player an appropriately hard stare about that. So, I didn't exactly give it to them. They earned it. It was in the book, but I take your point. A monk in D&D 5e with a sun sword or sun blade is basically a Jedi. Let's just acknowledge it. This is Hambo said, thanks a lot for this. Found it very helpful for preparing the second session of my campaign. Very excited to get into this. It seems awesome so far. Keep it up. Well, thanks. This is Hambo. Thanks so much for watching. And, SR Sheepdog said, Hexcrawl refers to the jungle exploration part, not the dungeon part. So what he's talking about, or I'm going to guess maybe it's Senior Sheepdog. Anyway, I'm going to guess it's a he. Maybe that's Sir Sheepdog. Last video, there was something about a Hexcrawl, and, I'm sure I said something. And so they're clarifying here that the Hexcrawl is referring to the jungle exploration, not the dungeon part, which makes sense. What did I do with the book? Here it is. If you look at the map, I don't know how well this will show up on the camera, but those are hexes, not squares. So when you're overland or in the wilderness or whatever, you're in hexes, and then when you're in an actual dungeon environment or combat environment, you'll go to squares. And each of these hexes on this map is 10 miles. So, and this is the map that comes with the campaign. One side is for the players. It's not all the way filled in. The other side is for the DMs. And not only is it all the way filled in, but it also has color markings to show you, like, minor undead, heavy amounts of undead, and other things that is DM only. Mwahaha. And that comment actually leads me to another thing I want to mention. I meant to mention this, I think, last video, and I forgot, but there's a Reddit user called revderrick who created a numbered hex map of Chult for DMs to use with Tomb of Annihilation. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But it's you can go to search for Tomb of Annihilation map maybe of Chult on Reddit. If for some reason you're not watching this in a way where it's easy to see the video notes, but in the video notes on YouTube, I'll put a link to that. It's a Google Drive link, and what it is it's got both of the get this back out. It has the player side and the DM side with the hexes. You can see all those hexes there, and each one is numbered. So sorry about that autofocus. I thought I had it turned off. And it just makes it easy, because sometimes you're like, what hex are we talking about? Where are you going? And if you say 3315, you're like, oh, okay. And it just makes it very easy to understand. Keep everybody on the same page, same hex, if you will, and keep the game from getting hexed by bad map understanding. All right, so moving right along, let's get into some rules clarification. All right, and for viewers that are not familiar, each video I tend to go over viewer feedback and then rules clarifications that came up during the sessions being discussed in the videos. So that way I don't have to stop the narrative in the recap and go, okay, and here's the rules that we figured out at that point. And then also, this is not, these notes series it's not a let's play. It's not a blow-by-blow, roll-by-roll account of everything that happened, but I sort of summarize sessions of play to kind of help people prepare for the campaign themselves, but also maybe just give tips on, playing D&D and, Dungeon Master tips and that sort of thing. So anyway, rules clarification, and this came up. One of the players asked it, or, during the session. And it's, does grease, the spell grease, actually put literal visible grease on a surface, or does it just make an area magically slippery? And this is the kind of questions you'll get while you're DMing. So let's take a look in the player's handbook and look up grease. So grease is on page 246 of the player's handbook, and it says slick grease covers the ground in a 10-foot square centered on a point within range, and turns it into difficult terrain for the duration. When the grease appears, each creature standing in its area must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or fall prone. A creature that enters the area or ends its turn there must also succeed on a dexterity saving throw or fall prone. So the key thing here is slick grease covers the ground. And then it says when grease appears. So I would rule very clearly, confidently, that yes, grease, actual literal grease appears. Now, the thing is, a player might go, well, can I take some of that grease and go do something else with it? And I'm probably going to say no, but the rule of cool may apply, and, the player may make a good case. Another thing with grease, I guess, in past versions of D&D, either the grease was also flammable, or it was kind of house ruled or kind of understood to be flammable. I can't remember, and I didn't go look up previous versions of the spell from other editions, but there's nothing in 5e that indicates that the grease itself is flammable. So there you go. Let's see, what else did I have here for rules? Okay, so this was, one of my players is playing a half drow, which I guess is a half elf, but it's a half drow. And do drow's eyes glow red? And that was something that came up. I can't remember the exact circumstances that this question came up, but it did. It's been a couple months since we had these sessions. So at the time, I was like, I honestly don't know. And, people at the table were like, I don't think so. I'm not sure. And the one player who's playing after, I was like, I'm pretty sure they glow red. So here's what I found looking around multiple sources, but just doing a search online, do drow eyes glow red? And so most drow, their eyes are colored red, the pupil or whatever. In some cases, it can be other colors. For example, Dritz Do'Urden, the most famous drow out there, has, I think, violet eyes, kind of purple eyes. There's another, I think, Gromf Banray, if I remember right, the Archmage of Minzo has green eyes, if I remember right. I'm not sure about Jarlaxle or the others, but the point is, most drow have red eyes. And you may have some other variations depending on if there's surface elf ancestry or whatever, or just you want it different colors because it'd be cool. But as far as them glowing red, so in previous editions of D&D, like first, second, maybe third, not sure about fourth, drow had like dark vision or infravision. And in other editions of D&D, previous editions, there was actually an infravision, which wasn't literally in. I don't think it's in 5e. I'd have to look up, but I know it was in previous editions. I think you just have dark vision now in 5e, but you could literally see the heat silhouettes and the heat outlines for things. So it wasn't really night vision and it wasn't really dark vision and all that, but you could sense the heat around things. And in some of the literature and the lore and the books that were written, and maybe even some of the actual game books or game statistics, a drow's eyes would glow red when it was using infravision. So like you'd be in the Underdark or something, and all of a sudden you'd see glowing red eyes because they're looking at you with infravision. And so that's where that came from, best I can tell. But in general, a drow's eyes don't just glow red. They're likely red colored. If you're a half elf, I don't know, maybe not. But if you're a full-blooded drow, the chances are that your eyes are red. Your pupils or whatever are red. Irises or whatever are red. So now let's see if there's anything else here that is rules clarification. I don't believe so. So we'll move right on to the recap, and I'll take off my +3 spectacles of viewer feedback and or rules clarification. And I always appreciate getting your feedback and questions and that sort of thing. All right, so at the end of the last video recap, the players were near the docks, and they had just fought a dinosaur that had like a dock type worker dinosaur that was used kind of like a tugboat, had broke free, and they had subdued it without killing it. But although a few swords, knives, or whatever got stuck in its face. And so at that point, the dock workers and the harbor master ended up showing up, and they were like, hey, thanks, we really appreciate it, but next time, don't stick knives in our tugboat lizard. So, if we really appreciate the help, but, kind of, next time we'll take care of it kind of thing. Some other things that I wrote down here. Remember, they're just now exploring around Port Nyanzaru before they go out into the big adventure trying to find the soulmonger. Somehow this came up. I guess one of the characters, probably the player who's playing a tabaxi, asked about tabaxi nip, like catnip, but tabaxi nip. So I just came up 5 gold pieces, if there is such a thing. I guess there is. And then at least one of my players, if not more, kept asking for maps and scrolls and information and lore, which I'll get into more about that here in a little bit. But what I did say was that scroll cases in Chult are naturally waterproof due to climate, and I think I just kind of came up with that because I think they were wanting to buy some scroll cases or even just for making a map and keeping the map safe, not necessarily magical scrolls. And they, but that kept coming up. Where can I, like they were wanting like a library or something, and I kept saying, you're not really finding anything like that. So, and I'll address that more here in a little bit. I know I've got some notes on it either for this video or another one, how I handle that. Rumors. Rumors that you can get in Port Nyanzaru are on page 36. So let's take a look here. And I love rumors. I think rumors are always fun. So when the first time that the players in an adventure like visit a bar, or if it's a long campaign like this, when they get their lodgings and are hanging out in the tavern or something, I'll usually give them a rumor. But however, on page 36 in chapter 1, there's a specific section on if you want to run it by the book. There's a gathering information. And it says the challenge for characters isn't getting people to tell them about Chult. It's sifting the truth from the mountains of rumor, conjecture, and myth. The best people to talk to are those who actually work or live in the jungle, hunters, guides, and explorers. No skill checks are necessary to get people talking, but to acquire reliable information, characters must go where the no folks gather. For each hour spent talking to knowledgeable travelers, a character can make a DC 15 Wisdom Insight check. If the check succeeds, roll a percentile dice and consult the Chult rumors table to determine what the character learns. And so if you look on page 36, there's a variety of rumors. Some are true, some are false, that they can gather. But I think I just gave them each a rumor. I just like doing that. I think it's a lot of fun. Now there's in Port Nyanzaru and out in the wilderness in Tomb of Annihilation, there's random encounters. And if you go to, there's an appendix. Appendix B, random encounters, starts on page 193. And this is a very important appendix to learn because it has all kinds of random encounters. And on page 193 are random encounters in Port Nyanzaru. And then the rest of it is random encounters while you're out traveling the wilderness. So, and in Port Nyanzaru, if you roll, and for both the wilderness and in Port Nyanzaru, you're supposed to roll 3 times a day. I don't think I did this in Port Nyanzaru, but out in the wilderness, I normally do. You roll 3 times per day of game time. So you're checking basically each game morning, afternoon, and evening or night. And a 16 or higher, an encounter happens. So in Port Nyanzaru, you roll a 20, and it tells you what occurs. And then for a wilderness encounter, you roll a D100, and it tells you what encounter may occur depending on what, are you in the jungle? Are you on the beach? Are you in a swamp? Are you in a wasteland? If you're in the jungle, are there no undead, lesser undead, or greater undead? Are you in the mountains, etc.? And that's, like I was talking earlier, the DM side of the map for Chult will show you, they're in the jungle and there's greater undead here, or they're in the wasteland or whatever. And then it goes on to give greater information about the random encounter that you roll. I mean, it's a pretty big table for in the wilderness. I really like this system a lot. I mean, you can literally just do traveling in Chult days on end and do random encounters. And it's kind of fun because a lot of them are creative. Some of them are really challenging. Some of them are outright deadly, and it reinforces how dangerous Chult is and the fact they're hacking through the jungle or whatever. But also in Port Nyanzaru, if you want to, you can roll 3 times a day, and on a D20 of 16 or higher, they have an encounter, and then you roll on this other table. And if you get an 11 through 20, so basically 50% of the time, if you have a random encounter, then you will meet an NPC with a side quest, and then you go back to page 16 in chapter 1. You go back to page 16 and 17 for that. So I'll point out a couple of these side encounters. I picked one on purpose to give the players a chance to have an NPC along for the ride when they go into the wilderness, because I keep trying to tell them Chult is really dangerous. This whole adventure is really dangerous. And so I didn't make it a gimme. They had to earn it, but I gave them automatically, the first night they were there, a couple of the players went to the more laid back tavern, and the rest of the players went to the rowdy tavern inn. There's two different inns. One of them costs more, but it's quieter. And the other one costs less, but it's more riotous. And, I mean, it's not super dangerous or anything, but it's just more of a party place, and you can still sleep or whatever in your room. But most of the group went there, and like the wizard and the sorcerer or something, I can't remember, went to the other inn for the more quiet evening, but they all got rumors. But I went ahead on the side quest on page 16. I gave them a chance to do collect a debt. And that's where Clahu, a neutral female Chultan human thug, she's a bookie who takes bets at Executioner's Run, which is a kind of a bad area. Asks adventurers to come with her as she collects a debt. The pay is 10% of whatever is collected on the 500 gold piece debt, which is owed by a man named Tabin, Taban, a neutral male Chultan human gladiator. Tabin refuses to pay anything until he's beaten down to 20 or fewer hit points, whereupon he offers up a pouch containing 10 50 gold piece gemstones. Ashamed by his defeat and eager to redeem himself, Tabin offers to join the party as a follower, demanding no pay for the duration of the venture, because he wants to get his honor back and to be redeemed. So I gave them that side quest as a chance to get Tabin to go with them, because Tabin is he's a CR5 gladiator that gets like 3 attacks around if he's melee, or I think 2 attacks around with spears. And especially for the first level, the lower levels of the party, I mean, they really need somebody like that with them. Chult can get really dangerous real quick. The random encounters are not levelized, if you will. It's like, well, in this area, it'll be easier. I mean, a random encounter is a random encounter is a random encounter. And you could, in any area you're in, you could get a deadly random encounter. Now, if you're in certain areas, like the jungle with greater undead, your chances of probably a crazier encounter are higher. But still, you could be, in the woods right outside the town, or the jungle right outside the town, or right along the river on the beach of a river or something, and get something super deadly. I mean, Chult is just a dangerous place. Not to mention, the actual game stuff that's written, that's not random encounters. I mean, there's some pretty crazy stuff. So I wanted them to have a chance to get Taban or Tabin or Tabin, however you want to call him. And so what I did was I think I adjusted him, because it was just, I think there were 3 or 4 of the main party, and the other party members were off at that other inn, and the bookie comes in. It's like, hey, you're new in town, and, I need some fresh faces, and I heard you can handle yourselves. That fight at the docks with the dinosaur. I don't, and I presented it in a way that she was like, I do not want anybody killed. I'm not trying to, I just want my money back. And I would like you to come with me, and I'll give you a cut. So, and they don't know anything about this point, that if they get him under 20 hit points, that he will, I'm going to come with you and redeem myself. So they talk for a while, they do an insight check on her, and they're like, and it's kind of a neutral, trending towards good party, but they're like, this guy owes you money, and he's not paying it. You don't want us to kill him. You just want us to come along and help you collect, and you're going to pay us for doing that. And they did an insight check on her, and they talked for a while, and they said, okay, we'll go, but if you think's fishy, we're out. And she's like, totally understood. So she shot them straight, and they went along for the job. When they found Tabin, I think had him in the gladiator quarter areas, or I think they couldn't find him, so they were waiting outside a tavern that they know he frequents, and he came out and saw what's her name, Clahu or Clanu or something like that. Then what's her name? Yeah, Clahu, female Chult and human thug. He's like, and I made it so there's obviously, a friendly relationship between I'll pay you. And she's like, yeah, I know, but you need to pay me and I got a reputation to protect. I can't let you slide just because I like you and all that. And so they go back and forth. And then it comes down, that she's like, okay, we're going to have to, don't kill him, but we're going to have to rough him up a little bit. He's like, I don't have the money on me, blah, blah, blah. So it's a tough fight, even with like 4 players. They did manage to get him under 120 hit points eventually. I was afraid they were going to give up too soon and go through all the beaten for nothing, because I wasn't just going to give them Tabin, but I wanted them to give them the chance. So multiple PCs got reduced to 0 hit points and healed. There were lots of knock prone. And what I did was I adjusted him this way for this fight. He didn't have a spear on him. He had his shield, but I only gave him 2 shield bashes. And I made a few, but not many of his hits misses. I mean, I didn't just give him Tabin, and they had to earn it. But I basically adjusted it to where I felt he was about a CR3 and not a CR5. Because they're basically 4 first levels. At this point, a couple of them may have been second level. Second level is 300 HP or XP. And I give out birthday XP every birthday that happens in my party each year, that I give that person 100 XP. I say, just take it right now. And so I think there was a couple of birthdays. So we may have had a couple of second levels, but I mean, it was still a very, very tough fight. They did get him under 20. He pulls out the gems. He pays off Clahu. She, true to her word, gives the 10%, the cut or whatever, to the party. And then Tabin says, I will follow you. I need to regain my honor. And they're like, okay. And they're like, we're going to leave in a couple of days. They'd already decided they were going to stick around till the next dinosaur races and then leave after that. And they still had to find a guide and everything. He's like, okay, I'll meet with you. Tell me where you're staying, and I will go with you into the jungle. Because they had shared, they were going to go, they were getting ready to go into the wilderness. So that worked out really well. Again, you don't have to do that. That's just what I did. I wanted to give them, and if you want to just give them Tabin, whatever, I do think, the reason I wanted him to have Tabin was not so that he could get them out of every scrape they got in, but so that he would be around for the first couple of encounters when they realized how tough things could really get out there. That was really my point. I wanted them to have it because they were just, we're murder hobos. We can handle, oh my goodness, So, and what I've done with him as they adventure around is he will not get involved into a fight or a situation unless they specifically ask him to. And then if he does, that affects their XP. So that's how I handle that. All right. Some other side quests that are worth knowing. There's this artist Simber, which keeps coming up. I think I mentioned last time, I don't know if I was going to do Artist Simber or not in this campaign, but it's an NPC that's running around that can be interesting to meet, and it's possible to meet him in Port Nyanzaru, or you can meet him out in the wilderness or whatever. But as a side quest, there's Help the Lord's Alliance, there's Hunt Pirates, there's Save an Innocent Man, there's Seek Wisdom. And I gave this one to them as well because it fit into the plot and the narrative later in these sessions as they were getting ready to leave and trying to determine what to do. A neutral good, it's called Seek Wisdom at Orlunga. A neutral good male Chultan human acolyte of Savras stumbled up to the characters in the street and whispers, "Speak to the wise guardian of Orlunga, east of Mimbala. She could direct you to that which you speak." Then he collapses, unconscious. When he awakens moments later, he has no memory of the last 12 hours aside from a driving need to find people matching the characters' descriptions. He's as puzzled by what just happened to the characters as characters probably are, but he'll help them however it can. At the very least, he knows where Mbala is from speaking to porters of Camp Vengeance. So that's just a way to get the characters to Oralunga, which was one of the main areas in the adventure and in the game and everything. So you didn't have to give them that, but I thought it fit because they were visiting the temples and seeking oracles and stuff like that. So that seemed to fit good to me. So I had that happen as they were traveling around, and it's like this guy's almost like been possessed to go find them, and then just delivers the message and then forgets everything. I thought it was just kind of a nice side quest. So don't forget about the side quests and the random encounters that you can have happen in Port Nyanzaru. So, Tabin says he will help the party if they go into the jungle, so he will. Again, the party kept asking a lot, at least one character, but more actually, but one character really kept asking, one player, libraries, areas of knowledge, and I'm looking through the description of Port Nyanzaru, and there's no library or similar kind of thing in Port Nyanzaru, but you've got a lot of the lore is passed down verbally. They're talking about it's not the challenge in Chult isn't getting information from the locals; it's determining what is true. So you got minstrels, you got remember most of the minstrels and bards and stuff are tabaxi, the cat people, but not all of them, and then also the merchant princes are a good resource for that. And the merchant prince that their benefactor, the lady that hired them to come to Chult and try to discover the source of the death curse, is staying with a merchant who specializes in magic books and lore and all of that stuff. So you can go, I think there's 9 merchant princes, maybe 7. And basically let's say 9 just for sake of argument. The 9 richest people in the city are by default the merchant princes, and then they kind of rule the city, and different merchants specialize in things that maybe the regular vendors don't. And in this case, the merchant prince that is a friend of their benefactor that she's staying with at his villa has books and all of that stuff. So I think there's a little bit of information in chapter 1 about the deities of Chult. But I also want to point out, if you have the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, that has a lot of information about the religions and deities of the Forgotten Realms and some of the deities that are mentioned a lot in the adventure, chapter 1, whatever. You can find information on them in the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. So I just wanted to make sure to point that out. Now, another thing you can do is they met Volo. Yes, that Volo is actually in Port Nyanzaru and can be run into as a side quest, random encounter. But I had him run into him because I thought it was neat. He is in Port Nyanzaru, traveling around on a tour, promoting and selling his book, Volo's Guide to Monsters. Yes, that Volo's Guide to Monsters. So I had the characters meet him. And he talked with them and everything, and they ended up buying a copy of the book for like 50 gold pieces. And now what I'll tell you how this works. And this is just a neat little encounter you can have fun with. Let me go back to page, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So this encounter is one of the random encounters in the appendix, starting on page 193. It says the characters run into Volothamp Getarm. See Appendix D. So his information for him in this adventure is in Appendix D. Who is delivering a copy of his new book to one of the city's merchant princes. There is a 50% chance that Volo is drunk. I don't think I made him drunk, but if you go to Appendix D and find Volo, let's find Volo. Where is Volo? Hello, Volo. There he is. Volo Get Arm, and that's on page 236. Says the bombastic world traveler Volothamp Getarm, and his stat block is on page 235. Hello, Volo. Hopefully they won't fight Volo. Has come to Chult to deliver signed copies of his latest book, Volo's Guide to Monsters. In addition to setting up audiences with its seven merchant princes of Port Nyanzaru, who he knows well, Volo is visiting local taverns to promote his work, and the characters might meet him at some point in the city. Volo is a font of information, not all of it accurate. I didn't use him that way. But he won't join the party under any circumstances. He might, however, allow the characters to tag along while he visits each merchant prince in turn. I didn't have that happen either. And there's it says the personable Volo is more than willing to share 1d4 plus 1 rumors from Jungle Rumors table at end of chapter 1, which he's overheard since arriving at Port Nyanzaru. So the other thing with Volo's Guide to Monsters is they can buy a copy, and there's rules in here, and I can't remember exactly where they're at, where if they get a copy of it, they don't have stat blocks and this and that and the other, but they can refer to it. And if it's in Volo's Guide to Monsters, then you can give them tidbits of lore about monsters and races and stuff, as appropriate. More than they would just know from, like, it was, they have a book to refer to. But it's not, you don't give them, well, it's +7, to hit. And, you don't get into that kind of thing. But you can, give them interesting information about races and things. And I remember seeing in here at one point, it gave you some guidance on how to handle that. And I'm not seeing it right now. So I don't know. I'll probably stumble across it as soon as I turn off the camera. But anyway, just keep in mind, if they buy a copy of Volo's Guide to Monsters, yeah, they can get some more information, but it's not like they can just say, my character knows everything that's in this rule book or this lore book. It's not quite that strong, but it is stronger than just not having the book at all. Interestingly, I think my players have kind of forgotten that they have it because they haven't tried to use it in a while. But it's still a neat thing to do in game. Also, they were going around to the different temples and trying to get information. And at this point, they're trying to get leads on what should we do. And they're asking all these different temples about, and the leaders of the temples about, have you heard of the Soulmonger? Do you know anything about this death curse? And of course, everybody knows about the death curse. They don't really know about the Soulmonger. And, they don't, the clerics are worried, but, they don't necessarily know more than the party does. Now, at the Temple of Savras, and that's the same temple that, the random encounter where the guy stumbles up and he's like, oh, can you help me? Or you need to go seek Odolunga or Orlunga, whatever the name of it is. And then he's like, I've forgotten the past 12 hours. What am I doing here? Well, you can pay the leader, the spiritual leader of the Temple of Savras, 25 gold pieces. And then you wait 24 hours and he'll do a ritual to divine about the Soulmonger. And the players did that. And what's good about the timing on that is if they want to do the dinosaur races, they say, well, you got to wait 24 hours to I'll divine for you. His name's like Papa something. He says, I will divine for you. It'll take 24 hours. And then that's a good opportunity to say, well, the dinosaur races are the next day. So that gives them something to do for those 24 hours while they're waiting on that. And then the next day after that, they can head in the wilderness if you want, which is what my players did, which I thought worked out really well. Another thing I did is there's a temple in Port Nyanzaru that they're very focused on physical beauty. Can't remember the name of it is. Let me see if I can find it. They're kind of funny, actually. If you're... now, there's the Temple of Gond. That's not... Temple of Sun. When seen from a distance, the temple's roof seemed to float in midair, an illusion created by mirrors lining the outside walls. Inside, Soon's faithful and casual visitors alike can partake of public baths, receive lessons in applying makeup and styling one's hair, and learn to dress in a manner that suits the individual's body, profession, and the climate. Newcomers to the temple must make a charisma check. Those who score 15 or higher are welcomed as brothers and sisters of Soon. Those who score 10 or higher are offered friendly advice on how to improve their presentation, and those who score 9 or less are greeted with sad, sympathetic looks and surrounded by a crowd of coddling devotees. So it's they're very focused on the appearance and your charisma that you put off and that sort of thing. So I think there was a dwarf with them. Yes, there was a dwarf with them. Who, he just failed abysmally, and they were just so sweet to him. And then the others were, I think everybody else did really well on charisma, and so they got the full spa treatment. But also, they're asking around, and the spiritual leaders, like, I don't know about the soulmonger, but yes, it's terrible about the death curse. He said, would you consider doing me a favor? And there's a side quest that is called... escort a priest to Camp Vengeance, and it's on page 17. And Undril Silvertusk, who's a lawful good female half-orc priest of Torm, with dark vision out to a range of 60 feet, is a representative of the Order of the Gauntlet and newly arrived in Port Nyanzaru. She needs to get to the Camp Vengeance. Okay, so my players, they're like, okay, cool, we'll take her with us. And they tell her, we're going to leave the city in a couple of days. We're going to do the dinosaur races tomorrow. We leave the day after that. Here's where we're staying. Meet us. And she's like, okay, great. To my Undril Silvertusk, this priest, half-orc priest, they're going to escort to Camp Vengeance. And then they're like, okay, we need to go, find a guide, get all that lined up. So they start interviewing guides. And the way this works, if you look on page, where to go? Starting on page 33 through page 35, there's a list of guides that they can hire, and it'll have their prices and this and that. And some of the guides are officially aligned with guilds. A couple of them are kind of like shady black market guides that don't want to work under the system. And in the appendix, which is really nice, I recommend that you print these out and cut them out and give them to players. And now not every guide is available in Port Nyanzaru. There's guides that you might find in other places in the adventure, but it doesn't have stats on these handouts. It just has the name and their picture and a little bit about them. And some of them may be willing, like Azaka Stormfang, who my players went with. She's like, I charge 5 gold coins per day and require a 30-day payment up front, which is 150 gold pieces. But she says those adventurers who aid me in a personal quest, or for those adventurers who aid me in a personal quest, I will waive my fee and guide them to places no one else has found if they help her with a personal quest. So there's cool little stuff you can do like that with the guides, up to and including this. She's a were-tiger, and the players don't even know that yet. She hasn't had a reason to bust out in a were-tiger form. And some of the other guides have interesting things too. So at this point, they've lined up their guide. They know they're going to leave in a couple of days, and they're going to do the dinosaur races the next day. And so next video, we'll talk about how the dinosaur races are laid out in the book, how I ran the dinosaur races, what my players got up to for the dinosaur races, and oh yes, there was lovely shenanigans with the dinosaur races. So it was a lot of fun. And then, so next video, we'll do the dinosaur races. And then after that, they're heading out into the wilderness to begin, the main adventure. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you next time on Shameplace.